Shuja ul Haq is joining us live from the very army camp where that encounter is still currently on. 3 terrorists have been gunned down, 5 army jawans have been martyred and 2 policemen have also been killed in the attack. Shuja, describe to us what you see there.
Well, very tough situation here. You know, if we are right on the bang opposite of this particular camp, if you can see, my cameraman will show you. This is the army ordnance and artillery base here, and it falls in this brigade which guards this entire North Kashmir area, very next to the line of control. These militants had somehow managed to come in through these entry gates, and when the police vehicle, the first police vehicle which reached here, because there was no clarity as to what was happening, the police had also come. They reached here in gypsies. They were fired upon. If my cameraman can zoom in a little, we can also show you that gypsy on which the first volley of fire happened, in which these 2 policemen who have lost their lives were at that point of time. One of them is the assistant sub-inspector of police. We can also show you in graphic details, how this entire camp is situated. Look at this camp. This is basically a war facility. It is situated bang next to the line of control. Has artillery positions also. If you minutely look into these details of the visuals that we are showing you, there are small little compartments. These are basically artillery positions. There is a lot of ammunition that is dumped in these depots. If those 2 green buildings can be seen, those 2 green tin sheds can be seen, that is where a lot of damage has happened. That is where the militants first were spotted, and that's where 3 of the militants were gunned down and their bodies were recovered from there. We can also give you the idea of how this entire camp looks like at this point of time. There are cordons that have been established all across. Even at this place where we are standing, there is a cordon. This is the final cordon, but we are standing here. We are divided from this camp with this small stream that goes next by. And initially what we have learned is that the militants used UBGL grenades. They used small arms and indiscriminately fired upon whosoever came next to them or was in their line of sight. We have to also give a little bit of input of how this entire operation began. Initially what our sources say is that there was no idea or no clarity of what was happening. First information that the police department got was about a fire that probably might have emanated from this place, and that's why the first team of police party came here, but they had no idea whatsoever was waiting for them. They were indiscriminately fired upon, and then the army personnel were also fired upon. That's where the initial damage happened. The modus operandi only gives you a hint that this probably was a suicide attempt which was carried out by these militants at this point of time, and the militants might have actually managed to sneak in from the line of control, because line of control is not very far away from this place, and then they might have planned to identify one of these softest targets, but this facility here seems to be less guarded in comparison with the other facilities. But there are very important questions as to how could these militants manage to reach this level with the kind of security that we see in and around this place. It is very difficult to actually reach this particular area without being noticed by anyone. But the militants managed to sneak in. They managed to situate themselves here, and at 3 a.m. in the morning is when they entered this camp. Then the entire havoc followed. Very grim situation. Even now, as we speak, there are possibilities that the militants might still be hiding somewhere. One by one, the compartments are sanitized. One by one, the army is mentioning to us that one by one they are trying to understand whether there is possibility of any more militants being there, and only once the entire facility is sanitized, they can give a go-ahead as to this operation, whether that is over or still is on.
Shuja, are you telling us that this is not a very isolated area, that it is one of the busier areas in that particular sector? Also, it doesn't appear from the initial reports that we got to be a very covert operation. It doesn't look like the terrorists made much effort to stay hidden. We understand that there was a suicide attack right at the beginning.
Well, the kind of operation this seems to be at this point of time, and the kind of manpower that is being utilized here, it only goes to give you a sense that this entire operation was very difficult for the army. And as I was pointing out earlier, the manner in which these militants have managed to get into this deep and a facility only gives you an understanding that it is quite possible that it could be a suicide attempt. Remember, we've been talking about it. There were intelligence inputs that militants might strike in the wake of the atmosphere that is right now prevailing in the state of Jammu and Kashmir vis-a-vis the elections and the polling that has happened in last two phases. There were inputs yesterday also that there could be attacks at in Srinagar city. There were a lot of preparations done by the security officials, but coming at a time when the Prime Minister is also visiting, nobody wanted to take any chances. But here is an example of how daringly this attack has taken place. They have entered into one of the most guarded, fortified zones of North Kashmir. An entire brigade is situated in this area. The army is, army is situated almost after every few meters. You can see an army post or an army camp. So making their entry to this level is something which will have to be ascertained with the investigations that will follow. How did they manage to come here? What was their motive? Whether this was planned or whether they wanted to do something else but were caught up here, and then they engaged. They were engaged in a gunfight with the security officials. But here is an example of how these militants have actually managed to come this deep and have launched this attack. Very daring attack. Though 3 militants have been eliminated so far, there is a possibility that more militants could be here or are still hiding somewhere. As I was pointing out earlier, we have been given a very clear advisory by all the officials and the sources that we speak to. Do not go very close to the installation. There is a possibility that militants might actually come out of their hidings, if they are still there, and then fire at you. So that is the kind of preparedness we are seeing at this point of time. There are commandos who are being put in service here. We've seen a lot of armored vehicles that have gone inside this camp, and the armored vehicles, basically they're locally known as, in fact in terms of military nomenclature, they're known as Casper vehicles. And Casper vehicles are basically very heavily armored. They are bulletproof. They can withhold the attacks of small arms, and to a certain extent even the UBGL grenades. They're being used in armored vehicles. In these Casper vehicles, the army officials and personnel have gone inside. They're trying to sanitize the area one by one. As I was mentioning earlier, there are many compartments here. This is basically an ordnance facility. Some of the artillery installations are also there. So one by one, each one of the facilities, each one of the compartments will have to be sanitized, and only then is when the army can tell us what exactly is the ground position.
Shuja, it's also kind of surprising that hasn't happened as yet, considering that this encounter began at 3 a.m. What are the kind of challenges that our security forces are facing? How large is this camp? It appears to be swarming with Javans. Just how difficult is it for them to smoke out intruders from within this area?
Well, it's very difficult. If my cameraman can zoom in a little, you can still see the army personnel in action. They're going from one compartment to another. They are in a huddle. Look at them. Those are commandos. They have gone in. They've found something. There is an activity there. If you can see in these visuals, the army, the Jawans have swarmed in. They are going towards one of those areas, and something has happened there. There is some activity, definitely some activity happening in this camp right now. As I was pointing out earlier as well, the army sources have told us that there is quite a possibility that militants could still be hiding in this camp. That's perhaps the reason why the army is not coming out clearly and saying what is the position in there. We've given to understand at least 3 militants have already been killed, but there is a possibility that at least 3 more militants were in this group. And only once this entire area is sanitized by the army, by these commandos, will we understand what was happening here. But talking about this particular facility, this is an army ordnance camp. This basically meant for ammunition, and there are some artillery positions as well. We were also telling you that this is very close to the line of control. This is a part of the brigade that is situated in this area, and the army was initially telling us that they are still finding out what exactly was the modus operandi. How did these militants actually manage to sneak into this level and then manage to come in and give them this kind of a situation on the ground. But once again, I am pointing out there is some activity happening as we speak. My cameraman, if he zooms in a little, he can show you the commandos who have taken positions. They have swarmed in from various directions into this camp. They've used armored vehicles, as we were pointing out earlier as well. The armored vehicles include the Casper vehicles of the Indian Army. They are very heavily armored. The armor is so thick that it can withhold the initial attack of UBGL grenades and the small arms. Those vehicles are being used here, but now we can see the commandos actually swarming in from all directions. They have zeroed in on something. They might have found out something. That's why so many personnel are guarding it, in fact surrounding it. Something definitely has happened here. As we were earlier also telling you, there is a possibility that more militants could be hiding here. Some of the sources were telling us that they will only clear this place after one by one all these compartments are sanitized, and only once the sanitization process happens, this entire ordnance facility is completely cleaned, and one by one the army personnel go to each one of the compartments. That's the only time when we will be given a go-ahead or given an understanding of what really is happening here. But at this moment, very, very dramatic situation here. We are located at this moment at a higher distance, and that's the reason why we are giving you this view of the camp. Look at these visuals once again. If we can zoom in a little, we can still see the army personnel, these commandos still circling that particular compartment. Something has happened there. Something definitely has happened there. There is an activity here, and if you can see, the Jawans who have swarmed in are not just normal soldiers. They are commandos. Look at their backpacks. They're commandos. They've been brought in. They possibly are specially trained for dealing with this kind of a situation. That's the reason they've been brought here. One can only give you an understanding of where this entire camp is situated. My cameraman, if he tilts down a little, there is a stream just going down, and in fact flowing next to this camp. On the other side is where the highway is situated. Also, very important to mention, is not very far away from this place is where the line of control trade happens. The much talked about line of control trade happens at one of these transit positions, which is not very far away from here. But this particular installation here is only meant for storing ammunition. This is an ordnance facility. Some of these small little chambers that you can see with sandbags on them, they are artillery facilities. So it is a difficult task to clean each one of these compartments, because only once they have an idea of what really is inside them will they be able to go in and find out whether there is anything that is left behind, whether any militant is still alive, or they are still holding up there. But very, very grim and difficult situation here.
Commandos going into an alert position there, zeroing in on what looks like a depot. Is that where weapons and arms and ammunition are stored? Right. We'll try and get Shuja's audio up in just a short while from now, but he's reporting live from us from a spot at that army camp where the operation to sanitize the camp is still very much on. We'll take a very short break. We'll be right back. We'll try and establish that connection with Shuja again. Well, Shuja ul Haq is reporting for us live from the very army camp where an encounter took place. We believe some action is taking place, commandos taking in position. Shuja, it's over to you.
we are seeing in past few minutes in itself. I was reporting earlier as well and telling you that the situation that's what has happened right now. If my cameraman can zoom in a little, we can actually we will be able to show you the commandos who have swarmed in from all directions in this particular facility. Look at those commandos. They are not normal soldiers. They are very trained soldiers, commandos of Indian Army. If we can just give you a sense of that from the mere appearance of these soldiers. They are very very trained soldiers. They have swarmed in from all sides into this facility, and this facility is important because there is ordnance in it. There it could be ammunition in it, and that's perhaps the reason why there was so much of worry initially. We were also told that there was a fire that had emanated from one of the compartments in this particular facility, and that's when at about 3 in the night, when the first information about these militants probably getting in came in, but there was no clarity as to what was happening here. Some people were only saying that it is quite possible that some accidental fire might have happened here, and that's why the police vehicles had come in. And once the police vehicle arrived here, they were indiscriminately fired upon. If my cameraman can zoom in a little at one of those vehicles which came under fire at the first place here, that is a gypsy. The white colored gypsy is the vehicle in which the first police party had arrived here. There was one assistant sub inspector of police also here. We were also told that a deputy superintendent of police ranking official was also with them, leading them. That vehicle came under fire. The police jawans were injured. Two of them died in this incident right at the first volley of fire when the militants fired at them. They had the element of surprise. They were hiding here. There was no idea whatsoever was happening here. There was no know-how about this entire place. The police party came here. They were fired upon. Then is when the entire action happened. We were told that the army cordoned this place off very quickly. The quick response teams were brought in from all sides. They actually stepped in here. They engaged the militants in the first instance, and that is when 3 militants were killed in this encounter. But still, we are given to understand that there is a possibility 3 more militants are hiding somewhere in one of these compartments, and that's the bigger challenge. One by one, all of these compartments which the ordinance will have to be sanitized one by one. Each one of these compartments will have to be given a green signal as to they are safe. And that's perhaps what is happening at this moment. Just few minutes back, we have seen some action happening. Even now, if we can zoom in a little, you will actually be able to see in these visuals the Jawans actually carrying out that exercise. They are holding positions. They are one by one in terms of sanitizing these, but there is no guarantee as to whether there would be. Just heard one very loud explosion happening here. We don't know what exactly has happened, whether this was a grenade that was launched or lobbed, or this is a part of the entire operation. But yes, the action. Look at this facility. This is one of the most difficult situations here. It is part of the brigade that is guarding this entire north division, and as we were earlier pointing out, it is very near to the line of control. Not very far away from this place is where the trade transit point is, the line of control trade transit point, which is much talked about over past few years. It happens from this particular area. On one side of this camp is the highway, is the route that goes to the Muzaffarabad trade transit point, and on the other side is a small stream that passes by this particular camp, and that makes the entire job all the more difficult. It is it is not very clear.
The audio patchy there, but Shujaul Haq was reporting that a loud explosion was heard just a short while ago. We can see heavily armed commandos taking positions surrounding one particular depot where I believe weapons are stored. The army still has no concrete information on just how many terrorists they are on the lookout for, but they are going about sanitizing each of these areas in a clinical precision, and they have zeroed in on one particular depot, which really is giving belief to the thought that there are still terrorists holed up inside this army camp, which is not very far away from where elections will be held in another 3 days from now. Shuja, you were explaining to us that loud explosion that was heard. You had earlier reported there was silence for a long time, but a loud explosion now, which could give belief to the fact that they are nearing the end of this sanitization process.
Well, we can't really give you, an idea about whether the operation is ending here or whether there was some other activity that was happening here. But yes, a loud explosion was heard from one of those compartments in this particular ordnance facility. We can only tell you that the militants, the kind of arms and ammunition they had with them included a lot of UBGL grenades, and that's with those UBGL grenades they actually initially fired upon a lot on the personnel who were here guarding. So it's quite possible that one of the UBGL grenades might have exploded. But really on the ground here, we can only see the army commandos, specially trained for this job, are only swarming in from almost all corners, and they are one by one sanitizing each one of these compartments. We can really, there is no way we can, give an assurance or guarantee that all of this facility is completely safe at this point of time, because these militants, as you have been pointing out again and again, were a group of militants. We don't know the exact number. 3 of them have been killed here, but we don't know whether there are more militants who are still hiding in any of these zones or compartments, and that is the bigger challenge here. These commandos will have to go one by one, clinically actually trying to figure out whether there is anyone present in these compartments. And these compartments are also very heavily guarded in terms of the make that they have. This is an ordnance facility, and most of the ordnance here is normally guarded very well. There are some artillery situations also. So all these compartments are basically one made of heavy concrete, and then there are a lot of sandbags that are around them. So once all these compartments one by one are given a go ahead by the officials here, we can only give you, then that is the only way we can give you an understanding as to whether this operation is over or not. I have just been hinted by some of the people in the outer cordon here, some of the army jawans in the outer cordon here, that I should wear my helmet here. That gives you a sense of the kind of tension that prevails here. It is very grim, a very difficult situation here. The army has cordoned this area off from greater distances. We are actually only able to give you this kind of a penetrative detail because we have situated our crew and our vehicles at a higher distance from this particular camp. We are perhaps the only channel which is giving you this graphic details of the entire view from this place, and that's perhaps the reason why we can see these army personnel in such graphic details. We actually saw so many armored vehicles entering in this place.
Right.
Armored vehicles basically have a very thick shields around them. They actually withhold a small arm attack or the attack of look at these. I can just see the army personnel actually swarming in from one place into one of the compartments. Look at those commandos. You can see a lot of activity here happening. The commandos have taken position around one of the corners in this facility. They are very specially trained for this kind of activity. They, as I was mentioning earlier as well, they're not normal army jawans. They are specially trained commandos, which is very apparent from the kind of gear they have. Look at them. If you can see in these visuals, these visuals show you that these these army jawans are moving in a snail's pace from one zone, one corner to another corner, and in this particular compartment where they have reached now, they have taken position around it from all four corners. They came from they came from the front side, and then some of them actually swarmed in from the other side, from the rear end. Look at them. If my cameraman can zoom in a little more, you can actually see these commandos who have taken position around that one compartment. This is the process which they have been following for some time now. They'll have to go like this from one place to another. They have to ensure that these militants, if at all are still there, will have to be cleaned up from there. There is one Casper vehicle. There's one armored vehicle that is coming from behind. You can see that vehicle. This is a Casper vehicle. It has very thick armor around it. The armor is able to the armor is able to withhold even the UBGL attack. That's what is being used here. Look at that vehicle. That's the armored vehicle that the Indian Army uses in most of these operations. The design of these vehicles is specially made to carry out these kind of operations here. They can withhold